Let's get ready to rumble!
Oh my God! Unbelievable! Down goes Frazier! Down goes
Frazier! It's time! You're listening to New Mexico's only mixed martial arts and boxing podcast, The Low Blow, on AtomCombatSports.com and FightFans Radio. Welcome to another episode of The Low Blow on SouthwestFight.com, FightFansRadio.com, and AtomCombatSports.com. I'm Justin Goodrum, joined by Jorge Hernandez. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Not too bad. Today's show is going to be a little bit shortened version. We're going to discuss the UFC on Field TV. We're going to break down Manny Pacquiao's controversial comments about this gay marriage, and also we're going to discuss this card coming up on Saturday. It's Strikeforce, the conclusion of the heavyweight Grand Prix. It seems like we were talking about the middleweight Grand Prix with Andre Ward. Now we were dealing with another Grand Prix that's over too. So good to see these tournaments finally ending. Also on the show at the end, we're going to air Jorge Hernandez's conversation with Austin Trout. So you can also see that on YouTube, but if you're listening to this on iTunes, at the end of our show, we'll put that interview after we have this conversation. So as always, you can get in touch with the show through Twitter, through @TheLowBlow, also through Facebook, facebook.com/LowBlowPodcast. And let's see, also through iTunes, through FightFans Radio. We're under their kind of iTunes podcast umbrella, for lack of a better term. It has our show and has a couple of other shows that you might be interested in, so that gets updated regularly. So let's talk about this UFC on Field TV card. The ratings didn't really do that well again. 173,000 viewers, a lot of TV. A lot of people don't have Field TV. I don't. I was watching the Heat game, and the UFC was on the another screen while I was watching the game at Buffalo Wild Wings. So I saw the main event and the Cerrone fight. This is a very interesting card. I guess we'll stop from the top down. Korean Zombie getting the win over Dustin Poirier. Poirier was considered the favorite. He had the hype of the Fightville movie. He had a lot of, along with Rory McDonald, Michael McDonald, Alexander Gustafsson. He was kind of in that, class of the new school MMA fighter. And Zombie kind of ended that train with a beautiful Darce choke in the fourth round. Really has dominated the fight. It's a really impressive victory. Now people are considering the Korean Zombie for a title shot. I'm all for it. How about you, Jorge? Do you think the Zombie's worthy of a title shot?
I definitely think so. I think either guy would have been worthy of one. I know, one of them, Justin, I guess, said he wasn't, I guess, not completely ready for a shot, but I thought he was doing well enough to actually do so. And, as you mentioned, Dustin was probably pretty good. I mean, not an overwhelming favorite, just because, Jung can actually bang and has pretty good ground game as well. But the pre-hype, man, with Jake Laser and all those guys, they were just, they were talking up Dustin so much. And
I bet.
Even the pre-fight videos and footage that they had were probably 80% of Dustin. So it was very interesting that Jung was able to actually pull this victory off. And I thought it was a coin flip from the beginning. So I'd love to see him in a title fight. I think he deserves it. He's, put up a hell of fights against Garcia, and now defeating Dustin Poirier there. By all means, give him the title shot. He's an exciting fighter and ends his fights in exciting fashion, and I think that's what the fans want to watch.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they called him the Korean Zombie for a reason. I mean, you know what they say in Zombieland, you used the double tap to put him out.
Exactly.
I mean, it's kind of the same way in the cage. I mean, you have to knock this guy out to beat him. And getting into a brawl with this dude is just totally the wrong method to take this guy on. Really, his ground game's underrated. So I agree. Even though the Korean Zombie has some weaknesses and some definite flaws, I think as a marketable fight in that division, looking at the rankings, I mean, honestly, you could say maybe he had the Zombie fight Chad Mendez, but other than that, I mean, Kenny Florian's retired. I mean, Dennis Seaver maybe. Eric Cook's already getting a title shot. I mean, it's just the other top guys in the division are in Bellator. So Haki Aoki already has a fight. So it just seems like, either Chad Mendez or giving him the title shot. Let's also talk about Donald Cerrone. He fought Jeremy Stephens. Entertaining fight, a little bit conservative for Donald Cerrone. I think he just wanted to get the victory, but his striking looked very good. Devastating leg kicks, man. Just kicked the crap out of Jeremy Stevens' legs. But he got the win, recovering from that devastating loss to Nate Diaz. Where does Cerrone rank in your eyes?
I mean, he's still up there. I think, unfortunately he did have that setback against Diaz, but I think it's unfortunate that he did drop down just because of how many that he lost, because of how many fights he had last time and how many wins he actually did have in a row before Diaz ultimately, did defeat him by unanimous decision the last time they actually fought. But Cerrone, I think he's one more fight away from the next title shot, or give it to him next. I mean, he was up in line next after Diaz, and a very impressive and bounce back performance here against Stevens. He took 5 months off after previously fighting, 3 times in 5 months before that. So I think Cerrone deserved the title shot. I think he deserved it before the loss to Diaz. But, Jeremy Stevens, I think came in with a lot of disadvantages into this fight. So I don't know if we should really, put Donald on too high of a pedestal just yet. Maybe one more fight before the title shot, but I think he's ready for the title shot.
I think he needs to fight Anthony Pettis.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Makes the most sense. Either Cerrone or Nate Diaz needs. Those are possible opponents for Anthony Pettis. We'll have to see. That division it's so muddled, and really the gap between the champion and the challenger is just so narrow. There's also Gray Maynard. He's been MIA. He's out there. I don't know what his future is, but he could be an opponent for either both guys. So we'll have to wait and see. I didn't catch this fight between Igor Petryak and Fabio Maldonado. Seemed to got a lot of controversy online. What was your opinion of this fight, Jorge? Was it a robbery, or what was the situation with that?
Well, the thing is Maldonado just, he was the boxer coming into it, and he landed a lot of headshots, but a lot of body shots that were just beautifully executed by Maldonado. And Igor was basically catch him in a tie clinch and land some knees. And many people feel that Maldonado clearly won the fight. I thought Igor pulled it off slightly. I thought it would be a split decision. So when I heard unanimous decision, I didn't know what to think, especially when I heard the score of 30-27. I said, absolutely no way. But I could have seen 29-28 split decision either way. I had Igor winning. I think 90% of America disagrees with me, which is one of the few times that I've disagreed with, the pack. But I thought Igor landed some significant shots. Maldonado, you could talk me into that he won the fight just because of the body shots he was able to land. He did outbox Igor, but I didn't think Maldonado was as busy as Igor. Unfortunately, I think that's what cost him the fight. But the 30-27 card is insane. And two of the judges had 29-28. So, maybe each one of them thought that one of the rounds was very close to actually be able to give. To not give to Maldonado. So for it not to be a split decision, that freaked me out. But or even for one judge to give it, the other way, or even a draw. It was a very good fight, but most of America disagrees with me, and they had Maldonado clearly winning the fight, but I just didn't think he was busy enough. He was landing significant shots, and there were even moments where he was being outboxed in the first and second rounds, despite it being his strength. His defense isn't very good. He was catching some big punches. For a boxer, that's pretty dangerous. But I think the knees that were landed against him is what ultimately cost him the fight. But one heck of a fight, Jay. You got to go back to actually watch it, because I really enjoyed it, and the crowd went crazy. And Dan Rafael even was in the house, first spot UFC or MMA contest he's ever caught, and he really liked that contest.
Interesting. So hopefully with these fuel cards, it builds up a fan base for that network. I think a lot of people are skeptical that Fuel TV can actually become a home to which, it can get consistent viewership. Right now. It's just in the beginning stages. It's kind of a 50-50 bet. In my opinion, I don't like the UFC's chances, but the cards are good. So at least, they're putting on quality on this network and not putting on just scrub fights on air. So
they definitely are, and I don't know if it's geared just more for the East Coast audience, but that 6 p.m. local time they have here, Jay, that'll hurt him here and in the mountain region and in California, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's a really good point, and I think that's not really being played up online. That's a really strong point because a lot of their base and your viewership is West Coast audience. I mean, that's where the sport is. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just a random thought here, Jay. Have any of those UFC on Fuels been anywhere west of the Central Time Zone?
Let me check and see.
Iowa, I believe they had one, or where was the Sanchez fight? Was that was in the Midwest somewhere? And of course, last night that was out east in Virginia. So I don't think any of those Fuel cards have actually been out west. So maybe that's what they're gearing for, to actually attract that East Coast audience that has to stay up for every other event, whether it be basketball or UFC or any other sport.
Let's see. Trying to see UFC on Fuel 4. Let's see UFC. It was in Omaha, Nebraska for
Nebraska.
Sanchez.
That's right. Nebraska. That was out in Ellenberg.
And with the Gustafsson, that was on Fuel TV. That was in Sweden.
Oh, so far East Coast.
So we had Nebraska, Sweden, and Virginia, with fourth one being at the HP Pavilion. So that's going to be in San Jose.
Okay, that's going to be in San Jose. Well, it'd be interesting to see if they change the time, because if they started at 5 p.m. California time, I mean, obviously people are going to buy their tickets and get their time off work to actually be able to attend. But how many viewers? I'll be interested in see what their viewership is like in the Mountain and West Coast Pacific time zone.
It's a Wednesday night, July 11th. If this source is correct. So, I mean, it's in the middle of the week, and you're right. If that time's too early, you're not going to get the viewership or even the attendance, even though San Jose is a huge MMA town. I don't think you're going to get that huge fan base if it's way too early. Let's shift gears and talk about this Manny Pacquiao controversy. It started today on Twitter. It made its way onto TMZ.com. And basically, he got interviewed by there's an Examiner article, the National Conservative Examiner, interviewed Manny Pacquiao. We all know about, Barack Obama's statement about he's for gay marriage. And so, you had Jay-Z come out and back Barack Obama and some other people. Now Manny Pacquiao was interviewed about it. And he's quoted in his article basically saying he's against gay marriage. He's not against gay people. He had a relative who's gay, but he's against gay marriage. Let me just quote here. This is a quote. Manny Pacquiao says, "What I'm critical of are actions that violate the word of God. I only gave up my opinion that same-sex marriage is against the law of God." Now, the big controversy is that he quoted a reference to the Bible, basically saying that gays should be put to death. Pacquiao it was interesting because the journalist admitted that Pacquiao never referenced the Bible verse, so there's some controversy there. But just in terms of this whole situation, Jorge, do you think this damages Manny Pacquiao's brand in boxing? I mean, there's a huge petition out, people wanting Pacquiao to be dropped from Nike. There's this rumor, there's questions about, people buying his pay-per-views in the future. Does this hurt his brand in terms of the world of sports with casual fans buying his shows? What do you think?
I think it does hurt his brand slightly, but that's just when it comes to sponsorships. Are we going to see his pay-per-view numbers drop in below 1 million? I don't think so. Manny Pacquiao fans are Manny Pacquiao fans for a reason. And we got to know that this man comes from a very religious background. He's a very religious person, so odds are he's, going to follow what he believes to be the word of God. And personally, I think it would have been a little different if, the backlash would have been a lot different if someone like Floyd Mayweather Jr. would have actually said something like this, as opposed to a humble and respectable person like Manny Pacquiao. I think because he's not as loud, as boisterous as Floyd Mayweather Jr., people respect his decision. I mean, by all means, I disagree with what Manny Pacquiao has to say. I'm completely opposite of what his beliefs are when it comes to gay marriage. But
me too. Yeah.
He's entitled to his own opinion, and I can, even though I disagree, I respect it just because of the fact he's a humble individual with, a lot of values. What do you think about that?
Well, he got killed on Twitter and on First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. They kind of hammered him And just in terms of, totally disagreeing with him. I think it's kind of hurt his image a little bit. I think in terms of the pay-per-view buys, you're exactly right. I don't think that affects that. But in terms of his Nike sponsorship, that does affect that. I think Nike's a global brand, and they don't want to be associated with any controversy. So if this blows up, to a national level where it's on, the national news, Manny Pacquiao is a popular figure in this casual mainstream culture. It could end up backfiring on him. I'm with you, Jorge. I totally disagree to what he said. I do think there's a little bit of discrepancy. I think for the whole Bible verse, I think he probably did say that. It's real, but in terms of him as a fighter, I think it doesn't really hurt him. But I think just his persona as the all-around good guy, that does take a hit. But in terms of people buying the pay-per-views, it is a combat sport. If you want to see Manny Pacquiao get his brains smashed in, just buy the pay-per-view.
Exactly.
So you can watch it either way. Let's talk about this. Is our last topic. Strikeforce this weekend kind of fell under the radar. I'll save my opinions on Strikeforce just being obliterated later on for another day. But as for this card, there are really two good fights on here. Josh Barnett and Daniel Cormier will decide the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix champion. And you have Gilbert Melendez versus Josh Thomson 3 for the lightweight title. With this Heavyweight Grand Prix finale, the winner, in a way, it's a punishment. They'll have to stay in Strikeforce for another fight as a farewell, while the loser gets to go to the UFC. So this fight, it's just so weird because it's such a quality fight. There's so many angles to how this fight could go with Josh Barnett and Cormier. Who do you think has the advantage here, and who do you have coming up on top?
Who I think has the advantage is because of overall because of history and background would be Barnett, but I think Daniel Cormier is going to come in for the knockout and actually pull it off.
Really?
I think for some reason I'm remembering something crazy like a 25-1 odds at the start of the tournament that an alternate would actually win the event.
Really?
And if you bet on Cormier, then you got one hell of a shot to win a lot of money. But when it comes to just the amount of wars that he's been in, you got well over 30 fights for Josh Barnett, and I think that that helps him a lot. The fight, either way, both guys are eventually going to end up in the UFC, I think.
Yeah, no doubt.
Whether it be by the end of the year or whenever they have their farewell fight that they're having with Strikeforce, see how Zuffa actually handles that situation. But I think Daniel Cormier, he's got nothing to lose, I think, when it comes to this fight. He wasn't even supposed to be in this position. So I think he's going to come in there and just go all out for this opportunity. And I can see him knocking Josh Barnett out, man.
Yeah, me too. I think they really are similar in a lot of ways. With the striking, I guess you can give Barnett a slight edge, but certainly Cormier has improved a lot. And I think with the wrestling, Josh Barnett uses a different kind of wrestling style and submission style that other guys in the division use. He uses catch wrestling, a lot of different, somewhat unorthodox submissions, I guess, when you compare it to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This fight, it's tough for me to pick, man, because I like both guys. Mm-hmm. And I've been on the Cormier bandwagon for a long time, and I've always liked Josh Barnett. I guess picking a winner, I guess you got to go with Barnett just with experience, but certainly it wouldn't surprise me if Cormier wins. Yeah. I think Barnett, he's taken a lot of punishment in the past. I don't know. There's a size difference, so I think that could come into play, and that's why I think that's another reason why I picked Barnett. But certainly it wouldn't surprise me if Cormier pulls off the victory at all.
And I think the height... Go ahead.
Go ahead. What were we going to say?
No, I was going to say, I think that the height disadvantage actually helps Cormier in most of his fights, just because most of these guys are going to be 6'2" or taller, which means if they're coming into jab or actually even try to take down, they have to come to his level, and Daniel Cormier throws over-the-top hooks and over-the-top punches to actually that actually land with a lot of efficiency. And I can definitely see Josh Barnett going down for a takedown, getting caught with an uppercut or an over-the-top left or right hand, man. And that's why I think I won't be surprised if it ends as early as the first round with a knockout.
Yeah, definitely going to be an entertaining fight for sure. Probably, of course, worthy enough to be on next week's UFC big all heavyweight card going down a week from this Saturday. Let's talk about the co-main event for the lightweight title: Gilbert Melendez versus Josh Thomson. This is for the third time now. I mean, we talked about Melendez ad nauseum here in terms of him should be in the UFC, but in terms of this fight, Josh Thompson's injury prone. This guy's fought already. I mean, for Melendez, is this a trap for him to take? Even though he's lost to the guy, and even though this is a rubber match, is this a trap for him? Is this a trap fight for Melendez? Just the fact that he wants to be in the UFC, he sees all of his friends and peers in the division getting all these opportunities, yet he's stuck in this kind of nowhere promotion. Is he truly motivated to win this thing, you think?
I think he is. I mean, though he's not in the UFC, he seems to be happy with where he's actually at, which is kind of disappointing to the rest of the fans of the actual sport, because Melendez, I think I said it before, I think is one of the top 10 pound-for-pound guys in the world, and you like to see him facing the top competition, but he seems to be comfortable at where he's actually at, and it's pretty disappointing. Do I think he'll lose this fight? I don't think so. I think he's developed so much since the last time they've actually fought, and since the last time he actually lost to Thompson. But it is, like you said, it's a tricky fight either way. I mean, who else is he going to fight in that division within that promotion? Hopefully, by the end of the year, come 2013, we'll see him in a UFC octagon, man.
Yeah, I hope so too. That's coming up this Saturday, so make sure you check that out on Showtime. So that's going to conclude our show for now. I'll just close it out by saying check out our Twitter at the LowBlow. That has just all of our updates, including the latest New Mexico fighters interviews, boxing and MMA. Check out our Facebook page with updates with our show and along with those interviews. Also check out our YouTube page at youtube.com/LowBlow505. And check out FightFansRadio.com on iTunes. That has all of our shows on there. So for Jorge Hernandez, I'm Justin Goodrum. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
This has been a Low Blow on Fight Fans Radio, SouthwestFight.com, and NMCombatSports.com. Stay tuned for the Austin Trout interview.
Broadcasting out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, you're listening to the Low Blow MMA Boxing Podcast.
Jorge Hernandez with the Low Blow MMA Boxing Podcast, USCombatSports.com, and SWFight.com. Today we're pleased to be joined by the super welterweight WBA champion of the world from Las Cruces, New Mexico, Austin No Doubt Trout. Austin, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, Jorge?
Pretty good. This is the 5th time we have you on, man. Thanks for coming back.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. So you're 24-0 with 14 KOs. You're set to probably be in the biggest fight of your career, June 2nd at the Home Depot Center in Carson, California, against BoxRec number 9 ranked guy Delvin Rodriguez, who's 26-5 and has really made a name for himself the last couple of years. Tell us about your thoughts about the fight and just the opportunity to be on such a large stage on Showtime.
Oh, well, first of all, I got to thank God for this opportunity. Thank God for just the road that's brought me here. Delvin's a great opponent to have a coming out party with. He's no joke. He's not going to lay down. He's coming for my belt. He's a good fighter. He's been through, some good fights. He's experienced. He's an exciting fighter. What else can I say? It's a great opponent, great stage. It's just everything's lining up perfectly, and it has to be the work of God because, man doesn't do that too much for me.
There's 2 world titles on this card. Of course, Antonio Tarver and Latif Coyote will be fighting on here. On this card, your title, of course, against Delvin. Winky Wright and, Kit Chocolate Quillen will be fighting on that card as well. So you got 2 world championship belts and 2 potential Hall of Famers on this card. This is probably the biggest fight card you've been on. So tell us about the anticipation of one fighting alongside Tarver and Winky Wright.
Well, it's nothing but excitement. I'm super stoked to have it come. It's making me train harder. My focus is on 1,000. It's on a level 1,000, and to be able to be with these type of fighters and these Hall of Famers is an honor. And it's awesome because whether you're going to watch for me or not, if you were tuning in for Austin Trout or not, I'm sure you were tuning in for Tarver or for Peter Quillen or for Tarver, and that's where I plan on coming in and stealing the show and stealing your heart. So, like I said, it's the perfect platform.
We saw you at the presser a couple of weeks ago. How was that to be on the national spotlight and to having that many members of the media there present? Most of your fights the last 3 years, man, have been out of the country. So how did that differ from all your other pre-fight press conferences?
Well, it was actually the first press conference where I was like a little bit starstruck. You got Winky Wright Tarver sitting right next to me, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous, and I don't really get nervous easily, So it was a good experience. I even learned a lot, about my press conference skills I need to get up. They have great hype mode and everything. There's a lot to take in, but at the same time, I think I was pretty cool.
This is the first time we've actually spoken to you since you've actually brought Al Heyman along as an advisor. How has that gone? Obviously, it's gone well. Just a couple of weeks after signing him, you signed the fight with Delvin Rodriguez. Tell us about how Al Heyman came into the picture.
Well, he had his associate Sam Watson contact me, and he called and said, "You know who Al Heyman is?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I know who Al Heyman is." He's like, "Would you be interested in signing with Al Heyman?" You kind of want to be like, "Duh, you know it," but of course he's like, "Yeah, of course, when can we do this?" So a couple weeks later, I met him in Houston. We talked about a couple weeks later after that, we had a signed contract.
How was our fights in Houston? You were out there for, pretty important contests out there. Did you get a lot of love?
Oh, yeah, the Carlos Molina fight and the Garcia Eric Morales fight. The fights were wonderful. It was awesome. There was controversy, there was good boxing, there was a couple of knockouts. Just what a boxing card should be, right?
Exactly. And there was a little shakeup in the division here recently with Floyd Mayweather defeating Miguel Cotto for what is, your piece of the belt as well. How does it feel to actually view two guys of that high caliber competing for a championship that's yours, and then maybe even Mayweather potentially being set as your mandatory opponent here within the next year?
Well, it's very exciting. It's also not a proof. Well, it's proof. Dreams can come true. Not that saying that it's gonna happen, but you see the strong possibility of it happening. Right there is proof enough that dreams come true. Shoot high. I've shot high, and fighting and beating Floyd is one of the goals since he is the pound-for-pound number one guy. If that changes, then so will my goal. But that is one of my goals right there. And to be so close to it, be almost to touch it and stuff, it's pretty awesome. Now, am I satisfied with being close to it? No. I want to grab and hold that belt around my waist. That's the ultimate goal. But this is pretty awesome being so close.
Yeah, and there was a lot of shakeup that night as well, with Saul Alvarez having a dominating victory over Shane Mosley, and there's also word now that Canelo Alvarez might actually be fighting Paul Williams. What are your ideas over that fight?
Well, the fight, getting Canelo in there with Paul Williams is a careful, strategic move. It's smart moves on behalf of De La Hoya and their team. Paul, and it's not really a bad fight for the fans. It's not like they're giving them a total duck. Paul Williams will make an exciting fight for however long it lasts. Is that who Canelo should be fighting? That's not my place to say. I'm not his promoter. Do I want him to fight me? Yes, of course. You're not getting a belt fighting Paul Williams. You can get a belt fighting me. But, I think he understands that he will lose the belt fighting me. Not game.
Just to go back and touch back on your upcoming fight with Delvin Rodriguez, Delvin's, he's got a blue-collar type of style that comes behind him. He's not the flashiest guy in the world. So what have you been doing and incorporating into your training to prepare for Delvin Rodriguez?
Well, we've watched this film, and we've made our adjustments, based on some of his best fights. I like looking at the best fights that they have, and instead of, looking at the recents or things like that, because you want to be prepared for the best Delvin Rodriguez we have. And, I seen through his fights, he's changed his style up a bit. So we have a number of Delvin Rodriguez's that we are prepared for.
Also, we recently, saw and read about you that you were training with Matthew Macklin and preparing him for his fight against Sergio Martinez that happened, that took place earlier this year in March. And Matthew Macklin put up one hell of a fight, man. How was he during training, and how did you think you benefited from training with him as well?
Well, show me where I was on the world scene. I definitely helped him out. He made a lot of adjustments to that camp. And again, it just showed me where I'm at. Macklin's, only one of the top fighters in the middleweight, and showed me my strength and my toughness, pretty much. If I can tough it out with a guy like Macklin, then I'll be all right.
Yeah. And just as a side note, Sergio Martinez has previously been one of your sparring partners as well. So, not to touch on that too much either, but you've been in there with some of the best when it comes to training.
And they all, were good confidence boosters.
Yeah, definitely. And also, we've been reading your tweets about your attempt to conquer Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, man. What's up with that, with Piston Honda laying you out?
Yeah, man, I was kind of mad. Well, I was peeved off. But I cannot get past Soda Popinski, man. Just thinking, if anybody has the strategy, because his uppercuts are hella fast, and I think they cheat, man. It's like 3-punch knockout. So I only get past Soda Popinski, and then I think my journey will be able to continue to get Mike Tyson.
Austin, I think that's the fifth grader in you coming out that the computer is cheating.
It's cheating. The button, I'm pressing the buttons right, and then I'm sitting there giving me my 1-2s like I had.
you gotta bob and weave, son, bob and weave. So, after your losses here on Punch-Out, are you going to leave trainer Doc Lewis and return back to your Las Cruces trainer Louis Berkman?
Most definitely, because Doc ain't got nothing helpful to say, except for King Hippo. That's the only time he's really ever helpful, tell him to shut his mouth. Now, I'm sitting there for Soda Popinski, he's like, watch the left. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying. Thanks. Is there anything else you can tell me, Like a time his right hand, something. But I'm going to get it. I'm not giving up.
What's the best piece of advice Doc Lewis has ever given you?
The best advice is with the Indian cat, Great Tiger. When it says, after, what does it say? Deflect his voodoo punch and punch him in his, whatever that is. Yeah, when he sits there, he does a little twirl around, punch at you, and then he stops, and his face is all, you gotta punch him. That was the best advice.
And then you got him.
Hit or quit it.
Then you got him. Well, Austin, is there anything you'd like to tell your fans?
Yeah, man, we keep a lookout. June 2nd, Showtime. Tune in. It's going down. Delvin will not show up just to, lose. He's going to try and beat me, and I'm doing everything in my power to not let that happen. So tune in. We're still in the show.
Yeah. And furthermore, man, what the heck happened to your Facebook page for a while there earlier this year?
You know what? Mark Zuckerberg is hanging on me. He just deactivated my account for no reason. I can't even tell you, man. My Jones got deleted. I had to start all over. I lost all kinds of pictures, Mark. Hater.
Well, if people want to follow you, it's Austin No Doubt Trout on the Facebook fan page, at No Doubt Trout on Twitter. Make sure you follow this guy. He's a star. He's a stud. Austin, we look forward to meeting back up with you in person with video interview here this Sunday in Las Cruces, New Mexico. So best of luck with training. We'll see you this weekend, and we'll also see you in Los Angeles. The LowBlow, SWFight.com, and US Combat Sports will be in the building for both your weigh-in and the fight.
Beautiful. I appreciate you having me on, Jorge.
My pleasure. The WBA Super Welterweight Champion of the World, Austin No Doubt Trout. Austin, thank you very much.
Thank you.